This is a coordinated activity happening across this nation, and so we are in a state of emergency. Black people are dying in a state of emergency.
Activist Tamika Mallory went viral for the speech she gave at a Minneapolis press conference following the death of George Floyd by police. In her new book, State of Emergency: How We Win in a Country We Built, Tamika writes that the issues of police reform and state violence will not be easily answered by protests or the recent election. Instead, she offers solutions to address these issues.
And she joins us this morning to discuss. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good to have you with us. You have these events in history, whether George Floyd, Emmett Till, and you feel like, okay, this is it. This is going to be the turning point in society. But Americans have a short attention span. So how do you make changes that last?
You know, I think that while we do have a short attention span, absolutely, that this is truly a different moment. And so was Emmett Till. I mean, out of the Emmett Till movement, you had Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott. And now you have more people coming to a movement. Folks from around the world have acknowledged that what is happening to Black people in this country is a problem and that it has to be addressed. And I don't think that while we may not see people on the streets the way that we did in the summer of 2020, that it means people are not paying attention. And I think what we see in Washington in terms of this push for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and the debate that is currently happening, it shows you that at least folks understand something has to be done. It's not enough at all, but we are in a place where I think people are pushing to see some type of change.
So 1 year later, it's about a year now since the death of George Floyd. Is there progress being made in addition to the things you mentioned?
Well, I mean, we did see some form of accountability in terms of the Derek Chauvin trial. And now we have to wait for the trial of other officers. But of course, we as Black people in this country have always dealt with the unfortunate go forward, step back situation because you do have Daunte Wright killed right in the same week that the trial for Derek Chauvin is ending, and him having to be buried 2 days after the trial ended and the verdict was announced. And then you also have this situation that's taking place right now in North Carolina with Andrew Brown. And so certainly we're in a situation where we are not where we need to be at all, not even by a stretch of the imagination. But I do think that people are going to stay on top of what is happening until we see some change. I know certainly my organization, Until Freedom, and others are committed to that. And that's why I wrote State of Emergency, because it gives especially new people, new folks to this movement, a way to find their sort of strength and get in the fight and become a strong ally who is someone who will eventually turn into an accomplice ready to sacrifice whatever they have to.
So, Tamika, let's get specific. In those pictures we saw, you see, far more whites and others marching with blacks than you did, 40, 50, 60 years ago. But to get specific, even liberals did not like the phrase defund police because many interpreted that as we're going to shut down police departments. What is your message about what that means, or what a different phrase would be to explain that position?
I think it's about creating balance, and I talk about it in the book. And while you're right, a lot of people are uncomfortable with the phrase because in many ways it has been shaped by the police unions and others who do not want to oppose police as a way to abolish police departments. And certainly that is not what we're talking about in this moment. While there are many who are abolitionists, and I am one who believes that at some point we should get to a place where we don't need police officers in our communities with guns. But right now, that's not what we're talking about. If I give you an example just of the city that I live in, which is New York, our budget for police is between $6 and $10 billion. But yet, if you look at and combine the budgets of the health department, the housing department, if you look at education and you sort of total all of those budgets, they don't add up to the $10 billion that's being distributed to police officers. neighborhoods. That means that there is a terrible imbalance where we're putting too much money and our priorities are really invested in punitive damages or in controlling people by mass incarceration. And clearly it's not working. We need to see more mental health services, more housing, and more development within communities so that people don't even need to be in contact with police. I think we put police also in danger when we have them going into communities where they are not prepared to deal with the issues like a breakdown that is happening in someone's home. I think it's unfortunate for everyone in the situation, and that actually police should be supporting this idea that we need to make sure we shift resources so that people and communities are whole.
Well, the book is called State of Emergency. It's now available. Tamika is also hosting a virtual event Tuesday, May 25th at 6 p.m. You can find out more at tamikadmallory.com or barbarabookstores.com. Thanks for joining us, Tamika.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.